Hello, I'm Brenda, and this is the healing power of story, where we talk about writing stories, reading stories, and healing through the telling of our own stories. Karen Blixen, the author of Out of Africa, said this: "Any sorrow can be born if you can put it into a story or tell a story about it." And that has been my own personal experience. I wrote a memoir called, and it's disappeared. Here it is. I wrote a memoir called When God Says No, My Journey Through Grief to Acceptance. And it's a grief memoir where I document my story through grief after the untimely death of my mother. It's a story where I describe the circumstances and then my questioning of God and His goodness because of it. And I think so many of us go through those times when we question life, we question our understanding of our faith, how we've seen life up until now. And we go through a very dark period, and it becomes a time of how do we find our way forward? How do we find our way to somewhere else that's healthy and happy, and there's healing there? And I've often found many people have got stuck in just that place. And I was very tempted to get stuck in my grief, but I found my way forward, and I found my way forward through God's story. And that's one of the other aspects we're going to be looking at on this channel, is all those stories that bind together to become our life and our life story. And the three ways I like to look at it in my own life, and which I'm going to be discussing on this channel, are the writing life story, so writing, and then living the writing life. They're actually two different things. Writing is a craft, and living the writing life is a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle I've embraced for myself that I have found has been very life-giving for me and has helped me in particular through a depression. The other aspect I'm going to look at is reading the life stories of other people. I'm an avid reader, and I particularly like to read spiritual formation books as well as memoir. I love to read the stories of other people and to learn what it is that I can glean from my own life and from how to live this one life that I have from reading the stories of other people. And so I will be part of this aspect of reading life stories of other people, doing memoir reviews, book reviews on people's stories. So there'll be people like Trevor Noah, Elizabeth Gilbert, Jackie Kai Ellis, the classics such as Ernest Hemingway, and of course many others. And when I review the memoir, I'm going to look at it from the aspect of what did I like about it? What didn't I like about it? This will of course be personal preference, but that's something to keep in mind as a writer, is our reader and what our reader is going to bring to reading our stories that we write. Because they interpret what we write through their filter, what they like, what they didn't like, what they're looking for in reading our work. And so that's also how I'm going to review a memoir, through those paradigms, as well as what surprised me. What can we learn about writing from reading the stories of other people? And then finally, it's going to be based on the aspect of what have I learned about how to live this one life I have to live from reading this memoir. That's often what I read a memoir for anyway, is to glean how to live life. How did this person live their life, and what can it teach me about how to live my life? The third aspect that I'm going to look at on this channel with regard to story is God's story. How is my story part of God's story? That is really what caused me to become part of this healing process, where I actually started to see my story as part of God's story. And that helped me to propel forward and to move forward with purpose in my life. And that's an aspect you're going to find me speaking about too on this channel, is choosing purpose and progress over perfection. So these videos aren't all going to be perfect and flawless, because if I'm shooting for perfection, I'm just not going to get there. I'm never going to actually feel it's good enough and that I can move forward. And so I think that's aspect two that sometimes causes us to get stuck in our lives, is that we shoot for perfection instead of purpose. What is your purpose in life? And when I see my story as part of God's story, it gives me purpose in my life. And how will I choose progress over perfection? So these are all the aspects I'm going to look at on this channel. The story of writing and living the writing life, the story of reading and other people's stories, and the story of God's story in my life. And so if this is of interest to you, if you love to read memoirs, or you love reading in general, if you long to write, and if you're looking for purpose, passion, progress in your life, then subscribe to this channel. Click on the little button so that you know whenever I update and send out a new video. And I'd be so happy to have you along as we go on this journey together of writing our stories, telling our stories, and reading the stories of other people, and of seeing God's story in our life. I'm so glad you're along for the journey. Welcome, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.